Today is the 23rd of April and we're well into spring, and you can see all my ficuses in my own conservatory. We keep the ficuses in here because I can't afford to heat my big greenhouse. That big greenhouse is 60 by 60 is about 3,500 square feet, and there's so much volume that I can't afford to heat it all. So I prefer to keep them in here, my own conservatory, and then I heat this house. But in the winter, everything grows and continues to grow. And with the spring, things start getting really rampant. So all these shoots here, this shoot, 4 or 5 inches has grown in the last month. So if I left this to grow, by the end of the summer, it'll be another 2 foot wide. So I can't leave them to grow. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to prune these trees. There are about 10 big ficuses here. You can see how big they are. And I'm going to show you how to prune this one. I'll go to 1 or 2 so that you can reinforce your learning. So this one, I think this is the front. Even these indoor trees, they have a front and a back. So this I will take off because I want to show the trunk more. By the way, the ficuses grow from cuttings ever so easily. One of the easiest things to propagate are ficus. So that would make an ideal cutting. I can show you some of the cuttings I made. These are made in the autumn. This was made from that. So can you see? In virtually 5 or 6 months, I've got a brand new plant like this. So they're ever so easy to propagate. So that's only an aside. And I have also got to decide where to take this off, but I certainly thin this out. I do save these for cuttings because people love the cuttings. Okay, so you see all these long shoots, I've got to cut it back like this. It may seem a bit drastic, but you've got to do it. If you didn't do it, the tree would become rampant. And you don't want the different levels of branches to merge into one another. Once they start merging, then you won't see it as a proper bonsai. It'll just be what we call a blob. See, like this would merge with that. There's still space, but I've got to clear it. And with ficuses, the aerial roots are a lovely feature, so people love to see the aerial roots. What we don't want is the trees becoming like a blob. I've got to make sure some of these wires don't mark the trunk too much. This one I might even have to cut the branch off over there. So you see how this is shooting up? I'm going to take literally 1 or 2 inches off, like so. For want of a better word, this is topiary. You can take the trouble to style the individual branches and the pads, but for most people, if you simply do this, it will make it much, much nicer looking and not like a bush. So there are 2 guiding principles: showing the trunk and having space between successive layers of branches. So that is a typical pad formation. It may seem a bit drastic, but believe it or not, I may follow this up. In the next 4 weeks, it'll become dense again like this. So let me go on to showing this pad. Spring is the best time to do this work because everything is on the go And however hard you cut, the tree is absolutely full of energy and ready to push ahead, producing the new shoots. Can you imagine if I were to keep all these little shoots? Every cutting like that becomes a new plant, but I won't have the space to grow it all. Okay, I'll get to the back in a minute. I'm going to do this side as well. I literally grab handfuls of it and cut it bare. Usually when you get such a lot of foliage, you get quite a bit of dieback. The reason why they die back is because there's not enough light penetrating the inside of the branch structure. And that is why it is essential to prune it like this from time to time to let light into the structure. So this I'm just making into a dome shape or a ball shape. This type of ficus is characterized by these aerial roots. If you know what a banyan tree is, Ficus bengalinus, they produce lots of aerial roots. And when the roots touch the ground, it becomes a separate tree. Sometimes I take some of the roots off because it can spoil the look of the trunk. So I'm quite selective in how I let the aerial roots develop. Remember that at the end of the day, it's all about beautifying the tree. If it's just a blob with no branch structure, then it's not really beautiful. The head or the crown is a very important part of any bonsai because the crown is the defining part of the tree. If you make it too skinny looking, it doesn't look impressive. So always keep a fairly dense crown. Usually when people make a bonsai, they wire the thing and the apex goes straight up. It's like a feather sticking up. And if you want it to be particular, you could in fact wire each of these branches. This is not a show tree or specimen tree, but this is how you would make a show tree or specimen tree. Okay, I'm going to now switch the tree around. I hope I don't drop it because these are pretty heavy. See the size of ficuses. By the way, these are purchased by people who've got large living rooms, and quite a few of my clients put these in their office. So these are very popular office trees. I have several clients in London who have very nice posh offices, and these ficuses are used in that environment. See, if you wanted to be pedantic, you can actually wire some of these branches down. I always say, if you have a healthy tree, then you can prune to your heart's content. But if you have a sickly tree, then the options of pruning hard are rather limited. So that's why it's so important to keep your tree healthy. So keeping a tree healthy comes from feeding it enough, giving it nutrients, and also letting light in, giving it fresh air, And water, of course, is the most important thing. If you forget to water your indoor trees, especially the indoor ones, then they will die. I prefer to remove as much of the leaf as possible, because if you leave some leaves on the branch, all the energy goes to the branches that have the leaves still on, and no energy will go to the bare twigs. See, that's a bad feature, going back on itself like that. You don't want that. You want it going outwards. So that is another pad complete. Can you see? So this is another pad here. Now let me see. I'm taking about 2 inches off. 2 inches. That's as much I'm taking off. I've got to be careful. I should be wearing a left-hand glove because these Ficus secateurs are extremely dangerous. You can easily cut your finger off. And this is a brand new Ficus. Look at that wild tomato seedling growing in there. So I'll try and show a before shot before I pruned it to compare it with the after. And after a month I will come and photograph this again and show you how it has developed. So this is the back of the tree. The front is the other side. See what a severe haircut I've given this tree. That is as much you should take off as a minimum in the spring. And if you have the right conditions, enough sunlight, fresh air, the tree will bounce back and will become dense again. So taking it back to the structure. I may bring a saw and cut some of these dead branches off. Just like you would do any other tree, deciduous tree, pine tree. So back to the structure. While I'm here, I'm going to show you another interesting tree. Now this one here is trained in this curly shape. And this is not the normal retusa. I don't know what variety it is. It's got very small leaves. But you notice that these branches are completely different from that. So this is what we call the understock. This is a type of Benjamina And because Benjamina are very vigorous, it is used as the mother plant for grafting the trees over it. So I'm going to cut these off. I'm going to make cuttings with this. Nothing is ever wasted. That'll become another plant. So all these I will cut off. If I didn't cut it off, it could dominate the plant so much that it will not let the rest of the tree grow. So I've left it just to show you what you need to do. So that was deliberately left for this video. Got to deal with some of the wires. So this again, I have to cut hard back. This has been curled up to make this twisted shape. See, some more of this rootstock I have to take off. And then if I wanted to, I can wire these flat as well. So that's another type of ficus. Now, while I'm standing here, such a dense growth, what I have to do is like this. Really hard back. To do this entire greenhouse will take me the best part of 2 days, I reckon. And that is working fast. Because each tree is massive, absolutely massive. This is the front. You see the insides die. You see all these twigs are half dead because lack of light. So light is very important. You don't let light in, the trees won't grow healthy. Many people I know will ask, how do you know what to cut? I know that I do it from intuition because I've done it many, many times before. But whatever it is, they have to be pruned. So this one, again, let's look at it dispassionately. If I want to make this the front, I could probably take this off. I may come back to it for a more detailed look as a master class, maybe. I might even take this entire branch off. But I have to consider it carefully. But for the time being, I'm just showing you the general pruning that I do. That means I'm taking that much, about 3 inches of the tips to get the pads flat again. You see, this has been cut, this has not been cut. That much off. Look at all those lovely cuttings. Okay, so you can see how much I've pruned already. Quite a lot. Look at all that, just bare. This one I haven't touched much yet, but I will have to. And it will grow again. I've created pads. And because this is the obvious front of the tree, I want to reduce it a bit because this branch sticking out is causing me a problem. So I think I want to cut this off over here. We'll get a ready-made cutting because it's got roots attached to it. How nice is that? This will become another tree straight away. I don't want too many arrow roots. Sometimes too many arrow roots can be not just excessive, it makes it look weird. So I'm trying to keep it a bit clean. And because I want to keep the front pretty clear, I may do this. So you see how much I've cleared the front so that it looks less awkward, you know. So the front is now more open. In fact, I might even take that off so I can see more of the front. And if I wanted to be bold, I could even cut that entire bit off there. I might even repot this tree because it hasn't done for quite a few years. So you can see the structure now. This is what it's about, getting back to the structure of the tree. So that basically is this tree. You see that nice dome shape, open the tree out, and if I wanted to, I can take the entire thing off, but I will be a bit restrained and let it develop and then decide again. So that lovely dome structure is there on that tree. So this is what we're going to do with all the trees. I've done 2 trees, but you can see there are about 10 trees here, all massive trees, absolutely massive like that. And all these will be cut back about 4 inches like that. So I hope you've learned something from this. These, by the way, were all cuttings that I made. So the cuttings are very easy to propagate. I have some trees that customers have had trouble with. This is a customer's tree. I won't show you the person's name. They nearly killed it, but I kept it in this environment. And you see what a lot of shoots have come back on it. So I'll let it grow a bit stronger, and then I will prune some of these back. And that tree will have been saved from dying. So there you go. And while I'm here, this is another customer's tree. They nearly killed it. See, it is absolutely dead, but you see how the shoots are coming back on it. All the shoots are growing again, but these end shoots are probably dead. They're like matchsticks. So we have to grow new branches from this. But you can see all the new shoots are coming again. So you can always rescue a tree, provided it's got some life left. This certainly has got life left in it. There you go. The trunk is the most important thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I could have shown you all the 10, but it could become too repetitive. So getting back to the structure every time.